recently come to my attention that some of you haven't been eating your breakfast.
Do you think you're too good for some horseshoes and clovers in the morning? They're magically delicious. Oh, that's unhealthy? All sugar? You skipped the most important meal of the day and you think you're gonna get all health conscious on me now? Cheerios have been here the whole time, traditional and honey nut. You don't have any excuses. You know what? Fine, have it your way. Not at Burger King though, because apparently you're above that. I'm gonna show you the consequences of your actions. A world without breakfast. Oh, you haven't noticed a difference? I mean, yeah, it's like 6 p.m. Give it a day or two. People are gonna be really upset. In the meantime though, let's talk about Hazelnut Hex, an indie game that depicts the breakfastless dystopia that I've just created. Hazelnut Hex is a horizontal shoot-'em-up, or developed by a guy who goes by the name of Chunderfins. Originally, that was the name he used for the music he put out, the Chunderfins, like a band, but he eventually started going by that name for his other creative ventures as well. He's done animation work for stuff like Smiling Friends and Bad End Theater, so after quitting a programming job, he decided to put all his skills together to see if he could make a video game around 2018. Though the game is attributed to Chunderfins Studio and a few other people are credited, Mr. Fins did the bulk of the work, being credited for the game's art, programming, and music. As I alluded to, Hazelnut Hex begins with the world's breakfast disappearing. You play as Nat, the witch mascot for Hazelnut Hex cereal, and you have to find out what's caused this nightmare, as well as calming down your uncharacteristically angry friends with a bowl of sugary goodness. You're not you when you're hungry, they say. One wonders how your cereal survived the purge, but I'll chalk it up to some form of witch magic. I wonder if anyone tried eating lunch or dinner food for breakfast instead. Maybe food has just ceased to exist between the hours of 6 to 11 a.m. The game wears its retro arcade inspirations on its sleeve, especially those of other shooters. You get 3 different shot types, which effectively act as a difficulty setting. The core gameplay loop is real fun. You upgrade your shots by collecting these stars that enemies drop, and if you get a hazelnut, your squirrel friend Sam shows up, acting like an extra ship would in a typical space shooter.
They fly now? They fly now!
Nat gets 3 hits before she dies, which can be pretty brutal. You can technically recover a heart by gaining a certain amount of points though. By default, it's set to 500,000, which ends up making extra health pretty scarce in practice. The default high score, attributed to Nat, is 1 million points. So if you manage to heal, you're already halfway there. The magic of Hazelnut Hex, though, lies in its continue system. See, Chunder says he played a lot of Metal Slug X when he was younger, specifically its PS1 port. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the Metal Slug titles are high-octane run-and-gun action games. Not all that dissimilar from your typical space shooter, what with the crazy weapon upgrades and abundance of projectiles flying across the screen. These were made by arcade developer SNK for the arcade. Your character can only take 1 hit, and after you lose all your lives, it's time to pay up with more credits, at which point you can seamlessly continue the game. Instead of shaking you down for quarters upon a game over like their arcade counterpart, most console ports simply let you insert a virtual credit by hitting a button or some equivalent action, at which point you can seamlessly continue the game without ever worrying about running out of lives. Of course, a lot of home ports of arcade games do this, but for Chunderfins, the sheer seamlessness of Metal Slug X clearly left an impression. As he puts it, the challenge of this game wasn't, can you beat this level? It was more, how well can you beat this level? You're not playing a level over and over again to beat it, you're playing because you're having a blast. As such, Hazelnut Hex adopts a similar system, offering you seamless infinite continues at the cost of resetting your score when you restart. The game isn't long at all, you can beat it in like half an hour, but with a high score leaderboard adorned with the initials of the game's characters, it seems to be egging you on to play it again, a little better this time. I could say I beat this game simply upon completing its 5 levels, but really beating this game, for me personally, would be finding my way onto the leaderboard, preferably in the number 1 spot. Thank you very much. Like I mentioned, the game's 3 different shot types of different sizes and spread ranges act as something of a difficulty setting. There's also a moderate mode in the settings, although, funnily enough, it's actually this game's equivalent of a nightmare mode. Chunder explains in that interview that he used to play DOS games with really intense-sounding hard modes like Nightmare or Ultra Violence, so he wanted this one to sound really lame, or moderate, if you will. Anyway, if you stop firing, Nat will charge her shot, and you can hit the fire button again to use a more powerful projectile. You can use this to get a point multiplier going if you kill a couple enemies in a row, a literal row. Upon charging this meter, she can also use a move to clear all bullets from the screen, a godsend during some of the bullet hell adjacent boss battles. Dude got real creative creative with some of these shot patterns. I like to do little taps of my D-pad to make little micro movements, and it is terrifying. Oh wait, that one went right through me. Yeah, so Nat's hitbox isn't actually her whole body, it's just this charm necklace she wears. This makes me a little less scared of the overwhelming onslaught constantly crowding the screen, but I do like to leave this little visual hitbox indicator on, just in case. There's a few options for its appearance, a much appreciated accessibility option. There are actually a lot of nice options to help with readability, like changing the brightness of the background, which really helps solidify this game as a traditional and reasonably difficult arcade shoot-'em-up with an emphasis on fairness and accessibility. It's a wonderful mixture that I think makes this game palatable to the casual player without sacrificing its potential appeal to the shoot-'em-up master. It doesn't have to compromise what it is at all, it just is a retro-styled shoot-'em-up with modern conveniences, not missing what people love about those games. Probably because the developer's own love for those games oozes out of every little crevice of this one. Speaking of retro game love ooze, the music and voice acting add a lot to this feel. The soundtrack, of course composed by my favorite band, the Chunderfins, features a tasteful blend of punchy, crunchy rock music with some delicious chiptune synth leads, filling out its flavorful textures with organs and horns. Part of a complete breakfast. If you don't know what chiptune means, by the way, it refers to music made using old sound chips or synthesizers found in older video game consoles or arcade machines. You know how the music of an NES or Game Boy sounds? Imagine if you used those sounds as their own instrument in the context of a band setting, and that's kind of what you have here. It's the type of stuff bands like Anamanaguchi do. It's real good. I like how each instrument gets a chance to shine, with the synths and guitar usually leading the charge. But in tracks like the Stage 2 theme, Spoon Surfin', the bass and organ get a chance to make themselves known. The rhythm section on all these songs really works for me. The drums are the clear highlight, adding a lot of punchy, crunchy, munchy, scrunchy, video game dunchy charm to keep the energy up. But as a bass player myself, I have to dig how a lot of the songs let it have its own melody, helping it pop out in the mix. The sound effects are similarly satisfying, with your constant barrage of bullets having an impact without ever getting annoying, allowing the explosions to take precedence the way they should. Our main gal, Nat, also gets a few voice lines, courtesy of Stephanie Komore. The voice acting is sparse but effective. Think of it like how Street Fighter 2 or Puyo Puyo have voice acting. It's limited to a few specific actions, but it adds to the high-octane, sugary soundscape in quite a satisfying and cute way.
Hey, little buddy.
Graphically, well, you've been seeing the game, it looks pretty, don't it? Hazelnut Hex actually initially hooked me in with the gorgeous promo animations and artwork I saw on Twitter. There's a lot of these, and all of them are so well done. They make me wish I could art, but alas, I cannot. These ones especially really stuck out to me. Nat is just such a cute and bouncy character in motion. The art was drawn on a tablet, and Chun's animation background glistens through. The game heavily emphasizes deep purples and pinks. Even the outlines, which would typically be black, are a nice dark purple. This contrasts really nicely with the pastel greens and yellows all over Nat and some of the other characters. I'm not exactly a color theorist, but I do think there's a bit of a purple tint over everything that gives it quite the warm and comfortable atmosphere. Even the ice level feels warm. That's impressive. As someone who loves anime art styles, but often gets bored of same face syndrome, I really like the variety in face and eye shapes here. Vivian is pointy and mischievous, Cass is round and welcoming, and Nat is somewhere in the middle. All of Nat's friends are super expressive and entertaining, with the witty dialogue acting as a cherry on top.
Nilly, I'm sure glad to see you here. I'm trying to figure out what's causing breakfast to disappear.
Get bent, Nat. Why don't you grab your big, dumb spoon and take a hike?
Take a hike?
Where I come from, them's fighting words. Good.
The enemies are a lot of fun too, usually tying in with each level theme nicely, like the bugs and freaky vegetables in the forest. Some of them are pretty crazy though. The lake has these cute jellyfish and bony boys, but also slimes and the heads of Roman statues. There's also quite a few humanoid foes amongst our enemy roster with names like Ghoulfriend, Hexwife, Cinderhella, and my personal favorite, Murder Maid. Gotta respect the commitment to designing baddies. Shout out to the Naked Lady mini-boss. Guess I'm not showing this game to my nieces at Grandpa's house. A lot of the enemies have real good names actually. You get to see them if you shoot them down during the playable credit sequence. Any game with a playable credit sequence, as you know, is an immediate 10. 11 in the case of puns, so this will be getting some high marks. Additional shout out to the Attack-O-Lantern, which I assume is friends with the Attacky Sack. While I'm talking villains, additional shout out to the main one, Lamona, who has a more traditional old-timey witch outfit compared to Nat's more modern and stylish take. I adore the contrast, it's very good. I also have to gush for a second about how much fun the expressions are in this game. They're pushed over the top in just the right ways. Those varied eye shapes help a lot. This bony boy wouldn't look nearly as shifty or mischievous without his little bean eyes and toothy grin. A good amount of enemies also sport these adorably creepy fangs that I can't get enough of. Most of them have angry eyes to match, which is nicely contrasted by Ms. No Clothes continually winking at the player before her confidence evaporates upon annihilating her health bar. Her eyes dart back and forth before she hits this hilarious "oh crap" expression and falls off the screen. I'd feel bad if I weren't laughing at her instead. Given it has infinite continues and only 5 stages, you can beat Hazelnut Hex in a brisk half an hour, but it eggs you on. It calls to you to play it again and to polish up your run. It even has sort of a training mode, letting you select not only a level to practice, but even which section you want to start from, like it's Guitar Hero. That 1 million point high score stared me in the face from the beginning. As I've mentioned previously, your score resets every time you die, so a lot of achieving Nat's full potential lies in merely staying alive. But there's more to it than just that. You know how I mentioned that multiplier you can get if you use Nat's charge shot? You're gonna want to be doing that. If you line things up perfectly, it can go pretty silly. Grab all those pink stars, those give you points. Literally just grab all the pink stuff. Wait, not that one! We're gonna be here a while, huh? Because of the game's short runtime and the curiously bittersweet ending it gave me, I didn't feel like simply blasting through with infinite continues and beating the final boss qualified as beating the game. I've gotten pretty used to that type of thing. Obviously, most games have a clear endpoint, but that number on top of the screen made me feel that there was more I needed to do. I needed to become a true Hex maniac and beat Nat's high score. If I was some doe-eyed kid in an arcade in 1995 and this game had its own little candy cab somewhere in the corner, my mom would have had to hide the laundry money because I'd have been an addict. Grinding out multiple runs of this game, which, I remind you, is about half an hour long, became a routine for me, slowly going from the pretty tough entry in a genre I don't understand to an amazing comfort game. I feel like I'm starting to understand all you Cotton and Gradius fans all of a sudden. Maybe I could even be a Cotton or Gradius fan.
You gonna play Toho?
Oh, slow your roll there, bud. Let's not get too crazy. Playing this game as many times as I have, and feeling the love it radiates for its forebearers, makes me feel like I've been missing out on an entire chapter of gaming history that now calls my name. It's like when Street Fighter 6 clicked for me and I suddenly understood why people liked all those fighting games so much and what quarter circling was. I am happy to report that if anything I've said about this game sounds appealing to you, then I can certainly recommend Hazelnut Hex. And eating your breakfast, you horrible little gremlin. God. Game's $8, it's on Switch, it's on Steam, it's on itch.io, and in the time it's taken you to watch this garbage, you probably could have gotten halfway into your first run through. Grab your spoon and dig in. There are no artificial colors or preservatives. I promise. I don't think that fake out ending was actually a fake out though. I think that's just the ending. As for me, I'm gonna start catching up on all those retro shoot 'em ups I've been missing out on. Thanks, Hazelnut Hex.
You're welcome, Jonii.
What the fuck?
Hey fake gamers, it's like 3 in the morning right now as I'm recording this, but I just wanted to thank my Patreon supporters whose names are scrolling across the screen right now. Special thanks to everyone who donates $5 a month to be in the Cosmic Kitties tier and get me to read their names out loud at the end of videos, like Bowties and Glasses, Brock the Archivist, Giant Fire Ring Cole, Griffin Harold, Gritsbot, June Crash Radio, Nyako, Pack Jeff, and Pigpen. Thank you! Oh, also, special thanks to Rakumaru for voicing Nat and to Cameron Alexis for voicing Millie. Y'all did a great job, and I have your links in the description. I don't know why I'm telling you this, you should know, but everyone else, I have their links in the description. Go check them out, Okay, bye!